Hi, my name is Paloma Feghali, and I'm an attorney in the PERM Labor Certification Department at REDDY NEUMANN PC.
My name is Krystal Alanis, and I'm the PERM Practice Manager at REDDY NEUMANN PC, and we are here today to provide you with a brief overview of the PERM Labor Certification process. So Paloma, can you please give us a brief introduction into the PERM-based green card process?
Sure, so the PERM-based green card process involves 3 steps: the PERM Labor Certification, the I-140 immigrant petition, and the adjustment of status. It is important to note that the PERM Labor Certification typically applies to those qualifying for the EB2 preference category unless qualifying under the National Interest Waiver and the EB3 preference category. The PERM Labor Certification process requires an employer to test the U.S. labor market to ensure that U.S. workers are not being displaced by hiring a foreign worker into a permanent job, and to ensure that admission of the foreign worker will not adversely affect the wages and working conditions of those similarly situated. The employer may file a PERM Labor Certification application with the Department of Labor if, through good faith recruitment, an able, willing, qualified, and available U.S. worker was not found for the job opportunity. So Krystal, how does a case typically get started in our office?
So the first step we take is to work with the employer to develop a job description for the permanent position and determine whether the beneficiary fully qualifies for the position. Developing the job description is a crucial part of the PERM process. In order for the employer to properly advertise for the position, we will need to determine what the employer's actual minimum requirements are for the position, and also ensure that the details clearly apprise U.S. workers of the job opportunity. When developing the advertisement, keep in mind that the Department of Labor requires that employers recruit based only on the true minimum requirements for the job. So the end result here will include, for example, the job title, a description of the duties that will be performed, the minimum education and/or experience requirements, special skill requirements, and any travel requirements for the position. Based on the job details provided, we will then verify that the beneficiary fully qualifies for the sponsored position and analyze all supporting documentation. So once the job details are set, we will now need to obtain a prevailing wage determination from the Department of Labor. So the prevailing wage is the average wage paid to similarly employed workers in a specific occupation in the area of intended employment. I should also point out that the employer is only required to pay the prevailing wage rate to the beneficiary once the green card is actually received. But the employer must demonstrate that it has the ability to pay the prevailing wage from the date the PERM application is filed. So Paloma, currently prevailing wages are taking about 3 months to be issued. Once we receive the determination, what's going to be our next step in the PERM process?
So next we will move on to the recruitment phase of the PERM process. This portion is the most labor-intensive part of the process for the employer. This is where the employer will be required to conduct recruitment for the position by advertising in various advertising media. So there are mandatory recruitment efforts that must be completed for both professional and non-professional occupations. Specifically, an employer will need to post the advertisement with the relevant state workforce agency and in a newspaper of general circulation within the area of intended employment for 2 Sundays. Further, the employer is required to post an internal notice of filing. For professional occupations, there are 3 additional recruitment steps that must be completed. The DOL requires the employer to choose the most appropriate advertisement media from a list of 10. Once all recruitment efforts are completed, there is a 30-day quiet period to allow potential U.S. applicants to respond to the advertisements. During the entirety of the recruitment process, the employer may have to conduct interviews of U.S. workers who apply for the position and who are considered minimally qualified for the job. Under some circumstances, the advertising and recruitment may be done while the prevailing wage is pending, which can shorten the PERM process. However, we recommend consulting with a qualified immigration attorney before moving forward with this option. So Krystal, recruitment is now completed and the employer did not find a U.S. worker for the position. Where do we go from here?
So now it's time to file the PERM application finally. At this step, Paloma and I will do a final review of the entire case and discuss any additional concerns we may have. If everything looks good to go, we will proceed to file the PERM application with the Department of Labor. Based on processing times over the years, we have seen the DOL take anywhere from 2 to 6 months to adjudicate applications, and this varies throughout the year depending on the DOL's backlog. Remember, there is always the potential that the DOL will issue an audit on a case. About 30% of all cases are audited according to the Department of Labor. Most audits are issued at random, but there are some audit triggers that we are knowledgeable of that make it more likely a case will be audited. And both the audits and the audit triggers will be discussed in detail in a later video. So once the PERM application is finally approved, the employer can move on to the second step of the green card process by filing the I-140 immigrant petition with USCIS. The PERM will be valid for 180 days, which means an employer must file the initial I-140 petition within that window. So this is the PERM Labor Certification process in a nutshell. This process is very complex and requires careful strategizing and analysis. At REDDY NEUMANN PC, our PERM processing team is here to assist every step of the way to make this process as smooth and pain-free as possible for you and your team. Thank you.